You're listening to Hotepish with your host, Dwan B. Intelligent ish talk, intelligent shit talk, where we balance the profound with the profane. Political satire, celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversation and solutions. Leave your feelings at the door.
What up, y'all? Welcome to Hotepish, intelligent-ish talk, intelligent shit talk. How y'all doing today? We is here. Yes, I said it that way. We is here. Now we are here. We is here. God damn it. What's up, Dr. Sanderson? What's up, Boss Queenie, Bug, Sheldon, Ty Ward? Thank y'all for joining me. Eastwood, Timmy, Otto. Yeah. Hey, special announcement. I got a new dope ass t-shirt I just made. Look at this. Rebels for the cause. My newest t-shirt. Go to hotepish.com/apparel. Right? Got them now to get yours. Rebels for the cause.
He doesn't like dance on Shaggy Tony.
It's not on yesterday. Show up on here. Let me switch scenes. Come back here. Let me put the t-shirts up over here on this page so y'all can see these great goddamn shirts. Rebels for the cause. You know I had to do this because I'm all about celebrating our heroes. You know that's what I do. I celebrate our heroes. And we gotta always bring light to the heroes, the great ones that come before us, that make it great for who we are. We got Nat Turner. Y'all all know who Nat Turner is. Y'all saw the book. Y'all saw the movie. And if you didn't see the movie, you should know who Nat Turner is. Then you got Robert Smalls, one of my favorites, someone I talk about all the time. Robert Smalls escapes from slavery, stole a Confederate ship, went through the Charleston Harbor, past a bunch of Confederate checkpoints, took the ship to the Union, convinced Abraham Lincoln to enlist black soldiers in the Civil War. Recruited over 5,000 black soldiers to the Union Army. The Union Army was losing the Civil War until December 1862, when Robert Smalls recruited 5,000 black soldiers and helped turn the tide of the Civil War. Then returned back to the South, captured his wife and his homies, and then after he kicked ass in the Civil War, he bought his slave master's house and owned the house as a free man that he was born in, a slave. What if our kids knew about Robert Smalls before they knew about George Washington? Just a thought. Then we got Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves arrested was the Lone Ranger. He beat his slave master's ass for his freedom. His slave master pissed him off one day, so he whooped his ass and walked away. Went to Oklahoma, became a sheriff, the Lone Ranger, arrested thousands of people, including his own son. This nigga Bass Reeves once arrested his preacher, the preacher that baptized him. Bass Reeves arrested him for gambling. Bass Reeves was a cold motherfucker. And then we know I talked about him last week, Denmark Vesey, June 18th, 1822, he was arrested for planning what was going to be the largest revolt in history, in American history, I should say, the United States of American history. Gathered over 9,000 people to revolt against slave masters and the South Carolina militias and government, only to be snitched out by an old Mark Lamont Hill, Roland Martin type nigga, which got him arrested June 18th and later hanged. And the fuck, who the hell calling me? I gotta turn that goddamn Skype off. The show is not open to phone calls right now, so please don't call. Please don't call. I may take calls later if I feel like it, but probably not, because I'm going to the Drew League later on today to watch some basketball. Some real basketball, devoid of you weirdos who only watch basketball so you can have conversations around the cooler at work. I can't stand you motherfucking halfway basketball fans who only know what ESPN tell you. But that's a different story. Shouts out to the Drew League, back going again after a year break from the coronavirus, where real basketball is played. And finally, the Denmark Vesey revolt was inspired by the Haitian Revolution with Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Dessalines was that nigga. Got the Haitian Revolution going and cracking. Took no prisoners. He wasn't political. Shouts out to Toussaint Louverture. But Dessalines was a little more hard-nosed, so that's why I put him on here instead of Toussaint. So, yes, get your t-shirts right now where we celebrate our heroes. Can't let them choose our heroes for us. We got to choose our heroes. You dig. Available in men's and women's up to 5X for the men, up to 3X for the women. So whether you're skinny or chunky, it can fit your ass. You dig? But yeah, let's get into it today. Today's topic, let's see here. Hell yeah, Big Westside. Drew League popping. Drew League started last week. The NBA players are going to be able to start playing, I think, next week. But yeah, I think Ron Artest team playing today. Yeah, Drew League is fun, man. I'm a basketball purist. I'm not like you people who just watch who need Mike Breen and Marv Albert to tell you what's going on. I watch basketball. I listen to music when I'm watching basketball, either music or podcasts. I listen to shit like that while I'm watching basketball because I like basketball for the chess game that it is, the strategy, the heart, the focus. You niggas think y'all accountants taking stats. Well, this player's better because he had a triple-double and he averaged 19 points. Nigga, you wasn't even good at statistics when you was in school. So why the fuck you talking stats? Poindexter fake ass Poindexter niggas. Y'all the worst parts of basketball. You fake Poindexters that want to bring up numbers. Stop it with the numbers. If you know what you're talking about when it comes to basketball, all you need is your eye. And people who don't get the eye test don't understand basketball. Go learn how to crochet or something. Get the hell away from my favorite sport. Y'all annoying as hell. What's up, Lady Hotep? What's up, Bug Sheldon? What's up, Bakari? Yeah. But yeah, we're going to talk about this increase in crime. Y'all notice there's been a big-ass increase in crime. And you know what happens every time there's an increase in crime? You know who they target. And you know what they target us for. So right now, since the coronavirus, I was just been reading through different, because I like to just scan the newspapers, and I started seeing stuff a couple months ago. And it's starting to get more of a steady drumbeat. And now Biden is talking about some old damn legislation. And we know Jim Crow Joe, what he's done every time he's written laws about crime. You know, this is the Joe Biden. Let me say this. Yeah, I know I study American history very deeply. Joe Biden is the greatest legislator in American history for targeting black people for punishment in coded fashion. Let me say this again. Joe Biden is the greatest legislator of punishing black people in America in a coded manner. Peaceful to PF. What's up, Raven Smith? What's up, Bug Shelton? Yes, Joe Biden is the greatest. He's better than Kissinger. Because it's a lot of these motherfuckers in American history. Joe Biden is just the latest. He ain't the first. It's tons of these motherfuckers that have written laws, that have gotten laws passed. He's better than Herbert Hoover. He's better than Calvin Coolidge at this. Better than Nixon. Nixon was the GOAT. By way of Goldwater. He's better than Jefferson and Washington. Joe Biden has locked up more black people than anyone in American history, including during slavery. This is including slavery. starting in 1977. Go back and listen to my interview with Judge Joe Brown. He broke it down. 1977, 1981, 1986, and then 1994. For great detail, look up that Truth in Sentencing Act and how Joe Biden got the states to adopt anti-black laws by offering them $12 billion to build prisons. But we'll get into Joe Biden. Let's get to Joe Biden. How do we get to why am I saying all this shit? Am I just being conspiratorial? Is this fat nigga just hungry and talking about a bunch of shit that he don't know about? Let you decide. But I'm going to share with y'all some articles I've been reading over the last couple months. And it has me very concerned with where we're going. And please share this with your children. It's time that black people get very open with what's going on in the world with children. Yes, I understand you want them to have their innocence. I get it. But they live in a world and an environment that won't allow them to have their innocence. So a child can be more innocent longer if he's aware of what's going on, if she's aware of what's going on. Because in my experience, in my almost coming up on 30 years of experience working with black children, starting as a black child through being an adult, starting as a student, teenage counselor, through being an adult mentor and behavioral coach, I've seen that these children are very smart. And when you give it to them straight and let them know what it is, they can break it down in their mind. Major reason why the children don't engage with the adults is that they don't want to deal with your bullshit, adults. In this fake ass world you're trying to create. They see what you do versus what you say. They see it all. And when they see you saying one thing and doing something different, they check out. Video games are now more interesting than you. Kids of today are all about being 100. And if you ain't being 100, they ain't fucking with what you say. That is just my experience working with the hundreds, well now shit, working with the thousands of children that I've worked with. You got to show it to them and you got to give it to them plain. They listening to cuss words anyway when they turn on their music and they're in their YouTube. I don't care what parental parameters you put on there. That kid is smarter at that tablet than you are. So I don't care. I'm just giving y'all the truth. Please don't spank your son or daughter. Please don't do that right now because of my words. Sorry, little niggas, little kids for outing y'all, but parents, they're smarter than you when it comes to that technology. So yes, whatever adult provisions and guides you put on, they've already found a workaround. They have a few. So your children are getting it raw anyway. They know how to break it down. Trust me. Black parents, stop hiding the real world from your children. Show it to them. Let them see. Because if they see it and you're able to explain it to them, that'll minimize their confusion. Because when they go to school, they see it. They see how the energy the teacher gives one child versus the next. These children go outside and they see the difference between what gets portrayed on TV as the image of what America looks like versus what they see on their street corner. They don't have the words to break it down and ask you about it like that, but they see it. They see the difference in how one group is treated versus the other. But if you don't break it down to them, they're going to walk away with the oppressor's conclusion as to why these things happen. One question I've asked literally hundreds of black kids, and I've gotten almost the same answer every time. What do you think when you see black people? What's going through your mind when you see us on TV? Well, we always getting arrested. Black people are always doing dumb stuff. Well, do you believe that, black people deserve to get punished? And well, we don't deserve. And I've heard hundreds of kids say this. I don't think we deserve to get killed, but we kind of just, we act real bad. This is what 7 and 8-year-olds have told me. Because they see the world around them. And the masters that create the television programming understand how to psychologically lead you to a conclusion. They don't have to tell you the conclusion. They'll lead you right to it, and you'll drink that water if you're not aware. Children need to see what it is, but they need the love of their parents to break down what they're seeing. So that way, when they go out in the world and see this shit anyway, they'll understand what it is and not have that negative self-view, that negative self-image. Because a negative self-esteem leads to a negative group esteem. And when you have a negative group esteem, you tend to want to harm that group, even if that group looks like you. You tend not to care about that group. You tend to be just dismissive of that group and their problems, even if that group looks like you. Our children see the cartoons where there's 5 white kids and no black kids. Or there's 4 white kids and 1 black kid, but the black kid is always in the subservient role. It's always the white male child with the good idea and the white female child that's extra smart and the black child that's always helping. So that's teaching your children the social order without you saying a word. Before you open your mouth to explain anything to your kids understand the pecking order based off their cartoons. They understand at the age of 3 that when they look in the mirror and see that black skin, that black means last. And that white means first. Thank you, Disney, for that. You evil motherfuckers. So black folks, you better start opening up and as young as possible counter-programming your children with truth. Television programming is setting the stage to your child's worldview. The education system, teaching them that nothing great came from Africa or indigenous America. Oh, this came from Europe or that came from China. Your children learn in social studies in the 2nd, 3rd grade that they ain't done shit, ain't about shit. Anything good in life was created by somebody else and given to their black ass. But you want to hide their innocence and not have them watch Hidden Colors. Not have them listen to me. Not have them listening to brothers like Jason Black. All because you want them to maintain their innocence. But let me tell you something. The system don't give a fuck about your child's innocence. Yes, I said it that way. They don't give a fuck. So you have to be actively counter-programming the system's bullshit. I remember, rest in peace, Al Sinchuk, one of my business mentors, Jewish man. I met him at the age of 26. Oh, shouts out. It's 11 a.m. exactly. Ooh, that's my favorite time. When I see them, that 1111, the doors of opportunity open. Numerology. Back to what I'm talking about. But Al Sinchuk's Jewish. He passed away a few years ago, but he was in my life for over 10 years, and we had a lot of good conversations about business, about life. And he understood how pro-black I am, so he would give me advice from a Jewish man's perspective. I could have these same conversations I have with you guys, I used to have with him at his office. As pro-black as I am here online, I'm like this in person with anybody. I don't give a fuck. What is there to be ashamed of? Am I going to be ashamed of my people? Fuck that. But he gave me some real shit one day. This is like 2011. He said, you know, one thing about us as Jews, the reason why we're able to do what we do, he said, we fundamentally understand that we have to support our education. We don't trust our children to go to their schools. And he was like, and all of us don't have money like you think. There's a lot of them that don't have money. But those who do have money pay to support these schools. He always took large sums of his money out and put it back into education, Jewish education. Because he knew that there were other Jewish people that didn't necessarily have the money to do it, to pay for the schools. And that's the code of conduct that they had. Those with dump the money in so those without can still be raised in a pro-Jewish thought environment. I'm not downing us. I'm not saying we're wrong and they're right. But what I am saying is pay attention to the mindset. You fund that in which you believe in. You fund that in which you believe in. Because there are people out there, there are groups out there that will fund all the money that they can to oppose and keep your black ass oppressed and keep your black ass down. So the only way to do it is to fund it and talk about it yourselves, amongst yourselves. Because these motherfuckers ain't gonna do it. Again, I don't say that to down us and to up them. I don't believe in that shit. And neither should you. You should have an open, intelligent mindset that you see things happening and you adopt that on whatever way you can apply it to your life. Don't come around saying, well, what we supposed to do and this other black folks that ain't got this. And what about the people that ain't got that? Nigga, fuck all that. Worry about yourself. When you see things that work, try to find out how you can apply it on your level. You don't have to have Jay-Z type money and Michael Jackson type money. You may only have janitor money. Apply it on that level. You may be an Uber driver. You may not have any extra money to spend, but you can pass along some information. You can uplift, and you can do it on whatever level you can do it. And as you level up in life, you increase your level up, you level up your game and what you contribute back to the group. You dig? So let's go into this shit. Let's go into what we talking about today. We talking about the increase in crime. And I saw this article about a few months ago talking about there's an, and I'm not going to read these articles word for word. I'm not going to do all that. But I will. I'm just kind of breaking some of it down to you and what led to me being concerned. Because anytime America starts talking about an increase in crime, and all of the different news organizations start getting on code with this increase in crime, when you have someone like a Joe Biden in office, you know legislation is coming right after that, and you know who that legislation is going to target. It's going to target black people, specifically black young boys and young men below the age of 25. Really below 30. But it targets all of us, but specifically those of us below 25 and below 30. That's why your kids ain't got time for you to have them lollygagging through life. The system wants them when they 13, when their brain ain't fully developed. That frontal cortex doesn't develop, like I said on a couple shows ago, till you're 24, 25, 26 years old. That's where your center, that's where your reasoning center is. So the system wants to catch them up before their reasoning center is fully online. They're talking about all these homicides are up and all these shootings are up nationwide. And we know this is a response. I talked about this on my show last year when we were talking about defund the police. I did a show, I think it was last either July or August, when I was talking about defund the police. I said, you know what they're going to do? While we talking defund the police, they're going to get out here, you're going to see a whole bunch of increase in crime. Because every time crime slows down, every time the people are focused on the police, crime magically reappears. Because there's a lot of money in American crime. So they started sending these dog whistles out about crime and blaming it. And look at the pictures and the faces that they're putting up. They're drawing a connection between crime and black. Just pay attention to the imagery. Black police officer, because they know a lot of people scan these articles. They don't really read. So imagery is important. The New York PD standing up next to the American flag. They don't show any images of the police department and all the ass whoopers that they delve out. They got them looking honorable, shoulders straight, tactical gear on, American flag in the distance, ringing patriotism to the subconscious of those who think white. That's including you white thinking Negroes. They just loading this all up. Maryland picture, a related article. Picture of Marilyn Mosby, somebody that's been pissing them off since that brother down in Baltimore. That guy, well, what's his name? He was in the truck, and they basically lynched him in police custody. Freddie Gray. White America and white thinking America couldn't stand Marilyn Mosby ever since she charged them officers. Nothing happened, but just look at the imagery. George Floyd. Again, people don't read shit, they scan. They're connecting all these black people to George Floyd. and making it seem as if he's the reason why these riots happen. And since his riots, it's been an increase in crime. Now they bring up depolicing and how it's been less police out there. Ooh. Oh, but look at the image right here when they show. Oh, they have a picture of police reform and a white man kneeling. Not a white man kneeling on a nigga's neck, which started all this shit. No, him kneeling in submission to a bunch of women. And they made sure to have a black woman here in the corner. You see that? Imagery. Again, people scan articles. They don't read them. So as people are scanning these words, they're seeing these images. Oh, now we bring up Mike Brown, Ferguson. Goddamn, these niggas are troublesome. That's what's going into the mindset of the white thinking person who's reading this article. Oh, now the COVID shut down a criminal justice system. So now it's, oh shit, crime is really getting crazy because we haven't been arresting anybody. You know how much, do you understand by the time someone who thinks white gets to this point in the article, do you understand how fucking scared they are? In sociology, they teach you in communication studies and in cultural anthropology, all these majors sort of intertwine in some ways. But what they teach you is if you want to understand something, you have to be able to step outside of your mindset and understand things through other people's paradigms. You're already scared of black people. Crime is getting increased. Yes, you agree that the police shouldn't be kneeling on the neck of Negroes. That's wrong. I don't want that. I don't want the police to think they can just hurt black people willy-nilly. I'm not racist. That's what you want in your heart. But remember, the brain works. There are two vibrations that we as humans understand: fear and love. Fear and love. Those are the only two vibratory frequencies that we as human beings understand. Everything is a subset of fear or love. We know these motherfuckers don't love us. They love our music. So they're not going to have a love conclusion. Same thing with black people who think white. Black folks who think white, we all know that we all got them coon cousins, friends, relatives, neighbors. They hate themselves and they hate everything that look like them. Hate comes off of the fear vibration. You hate that in which what you fear. Hate and love can't exist in the same space. I'm giving you life game correlated to what's going on in the news. If you want to understand this life game better, you can look all this shit up now. Neuroscience, quantum physics, metaphysics. You can look up any of them goddamn subjects. They'll confirm what I'm saying. It's a science. Fear and love are the only two frequencies that we understand. So right now, this article on crime is going straight up to the fear frequency, but it's aimed at those who really do want to defund the police. Those who really do see there's a problem. I don't like, this isn't aimed towards the hardcore conservative. They already shit. They don't need to be convinced of nothing. The peoples who need to be convinced are your liberals who actually see an issue with what's going on. So you're not going to convince them of facts, you're going to convince them with fear. So by the time you get to this part of the article, about two-thirds through, you shitting bricks. Look at the next image. Inside a federal prison where 3 out of every 4 inmates have tested positive for coronavirus. Uh-oh, dog whistle. They're about to release more prisoners. Put the image of a white man up this time. But he's not a prisoner. That looks like a prison guard. That's not a prisoner. If they're gonna have a, they don't have him. He's not in prison. This motherfucker's standing in front of a boat slip. Now here's the inside of an empty prison. There's some fear right there. Again, they're down there talking about firearm background checks and all the gun violence. Uh-oh, Chicago. You know Chicago's a code word for black. You end the article talking about Chicago. So I saw this article, and then I saw this one a couple days ago in Al Jazeera. The Al Jazeera is pointed towards your non-white, non-black ethnic minorities, specifically those from Asia. This is what they read. They're reading, this is code to them. You better not side with them black people. It's violent crime. Violent crime is going on. Asians. And look at the imagery they have up. Come on, Asians. Get on code with us white folks now. It's getting dangerous out there. Oh, you got another Negro. Crime black, black crime, word association. Y'all remember that game when y'all was kid, word association? What do you think when you think of the color blue? What do you think when you think of word association is real? Put an image up, associate it with a word. Black crime, crime black. Even if the black guy's in a suit and a microphone, not even a criminal. But the fact that we're talking about crime, we're gonna put a majority image. I'm not gonna say only. We're gonna put a majority image of black people as we're talking about crime. Doesn't matter if they're in a suit. It doesn't matter if they're locked up. We're going to put majority image in black. Oh, but you got a white person right here saying back to blue. Question, ain't that blue stripe flag, isn't that defacing the American flag? Shouldn't it be a crime to change the color of the flag like that? If you honor the flag, why are you changing the colors of the American flag? But that's a different story. Now they're telling the Indian Americans, Middle Eastern Americans from Asia, increase or defund. Asian Americans, our new model minority. Uh-oh. George Floyd again. Associating black and crime. Oh, more black people, look. Oh, and let's bring up Chicago again. Notice how they always bring up Chicago in these articles? Because even the Asians understand Chicago is a code word for black. It looks like a very coordinated media attack from CNN to Al Jazeera. Community response. You know, community is another associated word with black. The black community. So you don't have to say black anymore. You just can say community. Because the minute you say community, you're going to automatically think black. Even though we don't have communities. We live in occupied neighborhoods. We don't live in communities. We live in neighborhoods occupied by groups hostile to us that sell us bad products at overpriced goods that don't like us. More black people, black crime, crime black. Word association. People don't read, they scan. People don't read, they scan. If you think I'm bullshitting, go look it up yourself. Go look up the brain, how the brain works. People don't read, they scan. Chicago, black, crime. Michael Brown Jr., George Floyd, Chicago, crime, black. So whether you're reading CNN and a news outlet catered towards and geared towards liberal white people, liberals read CNN. You're getting the same word association, crime, black, defund Chicago, as you are in Al Jazeera, which is geared towards Asian Americans. And then you got it locally here in LA. Crime, black. Gotta watch the whole news article. I ain't about to watch this whole news clip. But yeah. Oh, and look at this. Chicago in spotlight as Biden targets guns with summer anti-crime agenda. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hey, knock knock. Where are the vote blue no matter who Negroes? I told y'all before this cracker was elected that what he's going to do is get in office and target black people. Chicago, ooh. Chicago's in the spotlight. What I read in the other two articles was U.S. crime. Look at my tabs. Can y'all see my tabs from here? Let me see if I can move my screen down some so I can see the tabs. Nah. Okay, let me do this. Let me show y'all. Here we go. Look at the tabs, top left. Is that bright enough? The Al Jazeera tab and the CNN tab over here to the left. You see where my cursor is? CNN, U.S. crime. Al Jazeera, U.S. crime. U.S. crime, U.S. crime. But when it gets to Biden, who is Biden targeting? Chicago. What is Chicago code word for? Black people. Why is Chicago and other big cities the target? This is a dog whistle to both Asians and liberals that it's time to round up the Negroes, because the George Floyd protest got the Negroes frenzied up, and now crime is increased because they carefully associated George Floyd protests, crime, and Chicago. People scan articles, they don't read. Chat room, please stay on target, please. I'm not answering questions right now. All right. Not answering questions right now. All the stuff about is Joe Biden really president? What happened? Look, we can't control none of that shit. So we don't need to talk about all that. Let's stay focused. I don't like whenever we're talking about a particular topic that affects us, that we go on all these non sequiturs and straw arguments and other thing else. Let's stay on focus, black people. We are the least focusing motherfuckers on earth, I swear to God. And I want that to change. Because, and I'm not criticizing anyone in particular, I'm not clowning, but I'm just saying, look, for real, black people, our biggest issue is we can't goddamn focus. We don't focus on shit. The minute we get a focus on something, people want to start talking about the UFOs. And I love UFOs. I'm into all that shit. That damn news article dropped yesterday, but that ain't what we talking about now. People want to talk about their baby mama. You get talking about something serious, it's some nigga in the group that want to bring up his baby mama drama. You get to talking about something serious, it's going to be one nigga that want to talk about LeBron James. You get to talking about something serious, it's going to be 2 or 3 niggas that want to start cracking jokes. And then we wonder why we can't get nowhere. You get into a room, 9 out of 10 is serious. 90 out of 100 is serious. But it's 10 people that want to say, look at me. Let's change the subject. Chill. Chill on that shit, man. It's a time and place for everything. I'm a goddamn stand-up comedian, I know. It's time to crack jokes, and it's time to shut the fuck up. Focus. Pretty soon, as this broadcast goes along, it's going to be somebody else that come up in here like, I guarantee you somebody at some point going to get in these comments and be like, why you keep using black? We really ain't black. See, the Maroon Doctrine of 1766 in Chickasaw County says, what the fuck does that got to do with what we talking about? Kids got to deal with this all the time in class. I be feeling bad. I hate to deal with this. Kid want to go to school and learn, but you got Damon in the corner that always want to distract the teacher. And the minute little Chris is about to understand what the subject is, you gonna hear Damon over here farting and doing some dumb shit to get attention. We grown up in here, man. We got kids watching. What the kids that watch this show, y'all haven't heard my callers call in. They got their 12-year-old children watching. They 9-year-olds. They're 15-year-olds. Shouts out to the University of Maryland basketball team. These brothers listen to our program. Talking about some real shit, but you got some nigga in his 50s coming around talking about, man, but we need to start buying Jordans. Fuck that got to do with anything. Back to the broadcast. Black, Chicago, crime, George Floyd, protests. Crime increased, protests. Black, Chicago. Targeting Asian Americans. Articles targeting white liberals. I didn't have to pull up no goddamn Fox News. You know what the fuck they talking about. Fox News is unfiltered with they shit. They ain't got to speak in code over there. I'm giving you the people that speak in code. So this is what they do to you, for you young black people listening. You wonder why the world doesn't like you? You wonder why your teachers treat you different? Especially if you're a young black male that has his own independent thought? It's because America has been doing this type of yellow journalism for over 100 years. As a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and pull that up. The definition so I can break it down to y'all. This for the kids and for the adults. I'm going to pull up the definition so y'all can read it along with me. Yellow journalism. Journalism that is based upon sensationalism and crude exaggeration. What is sensationalism? Glad you asked. We used to have to deal with this all. My major, my degree is in communication studies. This is like right in my wheelhouse. I'm talking to y'all as a scholar on this. Sensationalism, the use of exciting or shocking stories or language at the expense of accuracy in order to provoke public interest or excitement. What is yellow journalism? Journalism that is based upon sensationalism and crude exaggeration. So basically, yellow journalism is journalism that is based upon the use of exciting or shocking stories or language at the expense of accuracy in order to provoke public interest or excitement. This is yellow journalism. This is yellow journalism. This is yellow journalism. Black people are 12% of the population, but we 90% of the imagery when it comes to crime. Do you understand? Please ask me if you need, please let me know if I'm being vague, if I'm being aloof out there. I'm trying to be specific as possible. I'm trying to be as clear as possible. So if I'm not being clear, let me know. I'm giving you words and definitions that you can look up yourself. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to understand how the brain works. If you understand, if you go ahead and Google how people read, you'll understand the majority of people only read headlines. And for those who click past the headlines, the majority only scan. That's not DwannBrown talking. That's just what the studies show. I'm not calling this yellow. I am using the word yellow journalism, but America's always used yellow journalism at the expense of black people. This ain't nothing new. So for the children watching, when you want to understand why the perception of black people is so negative, we can start with yellow journalism. Because remember, in America is segregated. These people don't have to interact with us. Now, we got to interact with them to get our daily needs met because they control all of the resources. But they don't ever have to interact with us. Yet they still have these negative perceptions of us, and they go along and get along to push agendas that target us. Am I clear? That's right, Guru Camps, they got his 4-year-olds listening. That's right, yeah. Let this seep into their subconscious. Because when they 4 years old, the best time to get children to learn stuff like this is before the age of 8. Because that subconscious, that theta state is always on. Everything is going into that subconscious before the age of 8. Really before 7. And by the time they turn 8, it's locked in. And their view and perception of life is locked in for the rest of their life. Unless they're willing to go through years and years and years of therapy to change it. All of our worldviews are locked in by the age of 8. All of us. That's why the people, what do they call them? People, the people that you every time you go to a hotel, they got a Bible in the drawer. Who are those people? I'm drawing a blank. The it always says placed here by the, what them motherfuckers? I'm drawing a blank. Chat room, help me out. Who are the Jesuits? The Jesuits say, give me your children from the age of 1 to 7. You'll have a Catholic the rest of your life, and you can take them back. All we need is their minds from the ages of 1 to 7. You can have them back after that. They'll always, always, always be ours. That's why they tell you information like this is too much for the child of a mind. Because they don't want no real truth going into that young mind. So, Joe Biden is targeting Chicago. Now look, June 23rd, the Biden-Harris administration announces comprehensive strategy to prevent and respond to gun crime and ensure public safety. First of all, you cannot prevent crime. The way to prevent crime happens 20 years before that crime is committed. When that child is in the womb, is that mother being in an a non-traumatic environment, giving that child the nutrients that they need in the belly. Crime is stopped when children are given a good solid foundation and education before the age of 6. Crime is stopped when boys are given proper outlets to vent their energy. Crime is stopped when mothers can explain conflict resolution clearly, and schools explain conflict resolution to children by the age of 9. Crimes are prevented when resources are given to middle schools and high schools to teach trades, so that child, as they grow into adulthood, knows how to feed themselves and they're adequately resourced. That's where crime is prevented. You let someone go without proper guidance, lock their father up so they're not taught properly, don't give enough resources to their community so that they can feed themselves without worry. You're creating an environment for crime. When that's the style of environment that exists, so they'll tell you about crime in Chicago, but they won't tell you about the over 100 schools that got shut down during the Obama administration, which spiked crime. Chicago was on a steady decline in crime, but then when those schools closed down, President Obama had the power to send federal funds to Chicago to keep the schools open. He didn't do it. Over 110 schools got shut down. Crime spiked. You take away the opportunity, you're guaranteeing crime. So you can't prevent crime. Now, they already told you in their articles, President Biden is targeting Chicago. Again, Chicago is code word for black. Black is synonymous with crime. Protests are synonymous with black people having too much freedom. How are these Negroes so free to protest? We're going to associate that with crime and Chicago. All the code words needed for a crime bill. Understand what's happening? I encourage you to read this. I'm not going to read it all. As a matter of fact, go find Professor Black Truth. He did a recent breakdown of this whole crime bill. I ain't about to do that. Professor Black Truth talked about this part right here. I encourage you to find his YouTube channel, Professor Black Truth, and go to his most recent upload. Great channel. Great. He has a great channel. Great channel for detailed information. Your children should know who Professor Black Truth is. That's where your children should be getting a lot of their news from. Professor Black Truth. Go to him to break this down further. I'm not going to try to redo what he already masterfully did. But why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because America knows how to fix crime. See, when it's black people and Joe Biden, they want to prevent gun and crime and focus on Chicago. They want to lock us up to beef up the prison system. What did they do when white society was under a similar situation? I have the article in my link tree, in my description box down low. For those of you who want to go further on the Biden fact sheet, that article is in my description box below. And so is this from encyclopedia.com. I'm for the most part going to go off the top of my head because I know a lot of this shit off the top of my head because when you've been researching shit as long as I have, it's hard to remember where you remembered this and where you remembered that. Because there's always going to be one asshole that be like, where did you find that from? And usually the person saying that ain't going to spend a goddamn minute researching shit you told them. I know. Because every time I've given articles and sources for these type people, those be the same ones the next time you post something that they don't like, they go ahead and ask you to source the information. All you got to do is ask them, hey, did you ever read deeper on the last time you asked me to source this information? The answer is always going to be no. That's because these type dumbass people ain't the ones that care about research. People who care about research don't come around asking you, so what did you do? Why did you find it? They're not antagonistic because they understand that there's information out there that they may not understand. And since they already know how to research information, they'll look for it themselves. So usually the antagonistic people who are out there on that kind of shit, these are grown ass men that are just walking around with an injured camel toe. These niggas clitoris is they pulled a, these grown ass men that pulled a clitoris muscle, so they mad at the rest of the world. So they want to go around challenging people that they perceive as dominant. I ain't the one. But for those who do care a little bit more, I did put these two articles between the Biden fact sheet and the crime of the 1920s. I put these down as references because when I read through them, they basically had a lot of what I already wanted to talk about sort of already covered in here. But during the Great Depression, when white folks was out of work and prohibition was the law of the land, they created an underground economy. And crime during that time was the highest crime had ever been in American history. Look at this part right here. Throughout the 1920s, ethnic gangs and ghettos were the ones associated with criminal activity. What is ethnic? This is a code word for you young folks listening. My brothers at the University of Maryland, my 9-year-olds, my 4-year-olds, my 12-year-olds, and my open-minded adults that are listening. Ethnic was a term used in the 1920s to describe white people. Ethnic whites were your Italians, your Greek, your Dutch, your Jewish, non-Anglo-Saxon Protestant whites. These people were not yet accepted into the category of white. They were known as ethnic. Eastern Europeans, people who immigrated to the Americas, who started immigrating after the 1880s. The Ellis Island people. When America put a call out, hey, Europe, send us your weak, you're poor, you're mangled. Basically, this was Europe's second time they did a mass dump of their degenerates and sent them to the United States of America, Germany. That's why the largest ethnic category in the United States are Germans. But a lot of your Germans came before this. They started letting Germans in a little before the 1881 Immigration Act. But there were still a lot of Germans that came in this one. Yeah, it was 1882 Immigration Act. Yeah, it was that one. Yeah. They were known as ethnics. And when they were not classified as white, they were committing more crime than black people who had less than them. Per capita, they were committing more crime in the 1920s than black people were committing in the 1980s and 90s. Than black people are committing now with less. We got less than these motherfuckers had. But they was the main ones committing all the goddamn crime. Ghettos is a term that comes out of Italy. They put them Italians in ghettos because they were in ghettos in Italy. See, in the 1920s, black people weren't living throughout all these major cities yet. In the 1920s, the majority of black people were still in the rural South. Understand American history, young people. Ghettos ain't some shit that was ours. We just replaced the ethnic. Ghettos were created actually for ethnic white people. All we did as we started migrating to the north and to the west, we moved into the ghettos that were created for them. Why am I saying this? I'm glad you asked. In 1933, when FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the person who I personally say is the greatest American president in American history, for the context of America, none of them shit when it came to black people. Let's make that very clear. There's not one president in American history that was good to black people. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in my opinion, was the greatest president in American history as far as for the greater good of the American economy, which black people benefited the most of FDR's presidency or out of any other president, because by default of the restructuring of America, black people got more. Not because he gave a shit about black people. But because there was just more opportunity in America due to the New Deal and World War II. And people like A. Philip Randolph, who Franklin Delano Roosevelt listened to when it came to allowing black people to work federal contracting jobs for the military. But FDR created the New Deal. The New Deal was a relief recovery plan. The New Deal is where we get Social Security, Medicare, welfare, a minimum wage, workers' rights. Since white people who were ethnic were the ones creating the most crimes, and white Anglo-Saxon Protestants were starting to be outnumbered, in the New Deal, they reclassified ethnic whites as just white. Before the New Deal, you were Italian, you were German, you were French, you were Dutch. Not too many French here in America, especially in the North. Wasn't too many French there. But if you weren't white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, you were an ethnic, and you were identified by your ethnicity and forced to live in ghettos. Well, during the New Deal, they reclassified these people as white. And after they reclassified them as white, they had a whole plan on getting them jobs and opportunities. Jobs and opportunities. Not prison. Not jail. No. Skills. You know the cold thing about the New Deal, though? In order for the New Deal to get passed, here's someone else in the chat room. How do y'all interrupt this much information for unfunny jokes? Hey, for broadcasts like this, if you lick the window growing up in school, this ain't the broadcast for you to tune into. You dig? If you was a kid that started fights because you couldn't read 3 consecutive words in class, so when you knew the teacher was coming your way, instead of you facing the fact that you can't read and going home and learning how to read, you started a fight. You slapped the kid next to you. If that was you growing up, this probably ain't the broadcast for you. You probably got to go somewhere else and come back when I'm cracking jokes. But this ain't the one. This ain't the day for that. So back to the subject at hand. FDR reclassified ethnic whites into white. And in order to pass the New Deal, you had to guarantee that jobs that black people dominated would not be part of the New Deal. What jobs did black people dominate at the time of the New Deal? What jobs did we dominate? Someone asked, how can they donate to the channel? I'm glad you asked. My Cash App is right here at the bottom. Cash App DwannBrown. Please, please, please donate if you do so feel inclined. Thank you. Much appreciated. But during the New Deal, jobs that black people dominated could not be a part. What jobs did we dominate? We dominated agriculture. My 97-year-old grandfather, we actually were talking about this recently because I was talking to him about his time in Grace, Mississippi. He moved from Grace, Mississippi in 1937 to Los Angeles. I was asking him what he was doing in Grace, Mississippi. He said he was a farmer. He carried the water. He left school in the 4th grade so he can carry water. And that's what he did down south in Grace, Mississippi. So when you want to talk about, what the Latinos doing, what would America be? No. Y'all, they started importing Mexicans in the 1950s and the 40s heavily because when the New Deal was signed, farm workers were not included in that. So black people continue to work for pennies a day. sharecropping with debt that they'll never get out of, basically still enslaved. What other jobs that black people dominate? The service industry. Waiters, waitresses. Do you know that tipping, the reason why tipping is a thing in the service industry is because when it was time for the New Deal and jobs to be included, since black people were the ones that dominated the service industry, they didn't get included in the minimum wage. So they basically was like, okay, if you want to pay these niggas, why don't you pay them? We ain't gonna pay them. Actually, that goes a little bit before the New Deal. This goes back to the 50s where the liberals were acting like they cared about black people, saying black people need to get paid. The conservatives are like, okay, we ain't gonna pay them niggas. Why don't you pay them, liberals? Liberals like, we just talking shit. We ain't paying a motherfucking thing. So that's when tipping became a thing. So they made sure to continue that policy when the New Deal was signed and not include service industry jobs. That's why till this day, you have people who work at fast food restaurants and they're not getting paid minimum wage. Because these type jobs that black people had were not included. White people got all this opportunity in the 20s and 30s and still committed more crime than we did, then turned around and said, okay, the only way we're going to accept benefits for ourselves is if you don't include the Negroes. That's why this whole black-brown coalition shit doesn't work. That's why when people say the poor blacks need to come together with the poor whites, we've done that. We've tried that. We try that shit every 70 or so years. And every fucking time we try it, the poor whites turn around and kick us in the ass. We tried that shit in 1892 with the Populist Rebellion. 1896, we tried that already. What happened in 1898? When the Populist Party, black people got elected to the city of Wilmington. It was the poor whites who burnt that city down and killed off all the black leadership. It wasn't the rich, wealthy ones, it was the poor ones. Because instead of getting they shit justly from the powers that be, the rich ones, they more concerned about your black ass not having shit than they're concerned about them coming up. That's their behavior. Don't let them tell you shit. Just look at the fucking behavior, black people. You ain't gotta listen to people's words. Look at how they act. What happened with this farming bill that just happened, that just got passed, where they're trying to pay black farmers? They held the shit up. It's being held up right now. What's happening in Portland, Oregon? What's happening in Oregon right now? The state of Oregon wants to pay reparations to its black citizens, but it was a Latino person that filed the lawsuit to stop it. What did Vice News say about the Proud Boys? Some of the biggest supporters of the Proud Boys, white supremacist organizations, are Asians. This whole coalition thing ain't worked, not because of our fault. It's because every time we team with somebody else, they get theirs and say, fuck you to us. Look at what's going on in Oregon now. 2 bills advanced paying reparations to Oregonians, a state founded by black people, but then black people were all kicked out of in the 1800s and not allowed to return into the 1900s, by the way. The shit's getting held up. by both sides. Look at this. Members from both sides of the Oregon Senate submitted bills. Usually if both sides submit something, the fight is over which side is going to win. These motherfuckers is like, oh, both sides? Oh, hell no. We about to both sides come together and stop this shit. This shit don't work for us. Coming together with other groups, it never has. That's not a message of hate to any other group. That's a message of caution to my group. And if you don't like me cautioning my group, my question is, what do you really think about my group? If you have an issue with me raising concerns for my group, how do you genuinely feel about my group if that bothers you? Because anybody who loves me, anybody who likes me the way they say they like me, shouldn't have any issue with me doing what it takes to protect me and my group. Right? So right here in this article on encyclopedia.com, gives you a timeline of what was going on during the Great Depression and crime. So in order to fix white crime, they reclassified ethnic whites as whites and gave them jobs and opportunities, while with that same legislation disenfranchising jobs that black people worked. That's why we must always give love to Philip Randolph. When World War II hit, America started seeing opportunity like it never has before. And it was this black man right here, Philip Randolph, who went to Franklin Delano Roosevelt and said, hey, you got all these defense contracting jobs, but it's illegal for black people to get those jobs. So he organized a rally in 1941, and FDR relented and gave up those fucking jobs to black people. Philip Randolph was also behind the March on Washington. Philip Randolph is one of the most important black people in American history. Yet, why can't our children know about this man? He's single-handedly one of the most important figures when it comes to building the black middle class of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. That was built off of moves Philip Randolph made. Because before he did that, he also organized and unionized Pullman Porters. And we know Pullman Porters were some of the wealthiest black people in America. That was Philip Randolph that got them unionized. That was Philip Randolph that got black people integrated. And the same legislation used to get black people integrated into these jobs is the same legislation that LGBTQ are currently using for their rights. It's the same legislation that made it available for Asians to get federal jobs, for Latinos to get federal jobs. Asians, Latinos, all of these other groups that openly conflict with black Americans, the reason why they're able to work at the Social Security office, the reason why they're able to work at Raytheon, the reason they're able to work at Boeing and have these private contract jobs is because of this black man right here, A. Philip Randolph. Yet when these other groups get the power, they want to use it to fuck over us, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, the reason why you even could get a goddamn position in the government, the reason why your mom and your dad could get opportunities here was because of this man and other men and women that look like him, only for you to get that, take those opportunities and come up with some fucking crime bills. Never listen to people who say it's not about race. Is it about money and other things? Yes, it is. It's about those other things too. But race is always a factor. And I'm going to give you my algebra analogy again. If we're in algebra 2, and the problem is 2a minus 3x equals y, in order to find the value of y, you must find the value of a and x. President Lincoln said the white position will always be guaranteed. The Constitution guarantees white. So if the Constitution and the people who founded this country, George Washington, the people who wrote the rules to how this country exists, said that race is a factor, that means race is a factor in everything. So if you want to get the truth and honesty and find the true value of Y, you must first find the value of all things that go into Y, correct? If you try to solve an equation in algebra and say, oh, no, that doesn't matter, that doesn't exist, let's focus on these other things. You may find the value of the other things, but you're not going to find the value of the whole question until you find the value of X. And the value of X in America is racism. So you goddamn better deal with it. And if you don't want to deal with it, you're not being realistic. You're being intellectually lazy. See, I just brought y'all full circle here. We don't talk about race to complain. We talk about race to solve. I'm done complaining. I don't complain about race. I point it out. Because I know when black people know better, we do better. We only mess up when we don't understand what the game that's being played. That's when we get messed up. We get messed up when we don't see the whole game. That's where we fuck up. But when we see the game, when we see all the factors, we some bad motherfuckers. We always win. Who we are as a people intellectually is who we are as a people on the basketball court, in the boxing ring, in other areas of life where we're not controlled. We not only win, we dominate. That's why our young kings and queens, our little young folks, aren't taught about A. Philip Randolph. They're not taught about their greatness. They're not taught about Ike Turner. Well, they're not taught about who Ike Turner really was. They talk about the abuse, not the fact that he recorded the first R&B album ever. We don't talk about his greatness. Talk about if they are going to talk about the black man, they're going to talk about him in his worst times, the worst things he's ever done. Not the genius that he is. But that's why I got this t-shirt. Nat Turner, Robert Smalls, Bass Reeves, Denmark Vesey, Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Because black children need to know we have heroes too. Black children need to know that we've had people that say, I'm not taking this shit. Bass Reeves, yes, Nat Turner and Denmark Vesey were caught and lynched because of snitches. Same thing with Dessalines. But Bass Reeves died an old man. Robert Smalls died an old man. They really don't like telling you that. These black folks escaped from slavery, lived as a man their whole life, and died a man. Lived as a man, died as a man. Get it? I'm about to get up out of here. Thank y'all for joining me. Hotepish Intelligent Ish Talk. I was going to take some calls, but I'm not. I'm going to get down. I got to get down to the Drew League. I want to watch some basketball. Some real basketball. Devoid of you weirdos that like getting online and bringing up niggas' stats. Down at the Drew League, we don't know nobody's stats. We just know who dunked on who crossed over who, and who beat who. Real basketball. I love the Drew League too because you see a lot of black men coming in peace, bringing their sons and daughters. It's a family affair right in the middle of South Central Watts, LA. Well, they moved it to Bellflower this year because of issues with King Drew High School's gym. But it's a great environment. Full of black love and professionalism. I'm on the way down there. Get my live drum sample packs. And please, and buy my book, No Time to Waste, a self-motivation guidebook. Y'all still buying this book, and I love y'all for it. Thank y'all. Book has been selling great. People love it. Saying it's helping them out. I need y'all to get that book and get the t-shirts. Remember this, there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up game. My name is Dwan B. We out.